The Bureau of Labor Statistics released its November 2025 jobs report this morning, the first report that we've seen since September due to the government shutdown. It shows a rising unemployment rate, wages increasing, and a loss of jobs in October. Here to help us understand more on this report is Bankrate Senior Economic Analyst Mark Hamrick. Mark, thanks for coming back to 21 News at 5.
Good to be with you, Lindsay. Thank you.
So the unemployment rate in November reached 4.6%. That's the highest rate since September of 2021. Should people be concerned that the rate is continuing to rise?
Lindsay, I think we're already seeing people expressing their concern in the surveys that we see of consumer sentiment. They indicate that while inflation and affordability issues are paramount with respect to their concerns about the economy and their personal finances, concern about the job market is rising. And so this report simply coincides with all that. Perhaps it gives some additional reason to be concerned, but I would also note that this data is a snapshot of the past. And indeed, I'll be eager to see the December data, which would be collected even as we speak. We're still catching up with the, let's say, the noise and the delays related to the federal government shutdown, and then that December report will be released in early January. Should give us a better idea of what sort of the new normal is, at least for the time being. So I think Americans, people in our audience here, have a pretty good sense of what their sense of job security is, what the outlook is for their career, but this data certainly helps to fill in the blanks.
I know there was a lot of focus, a razor focus on this rate during the recession and then post-pandemic. I think a lot of people were concerned. Are we at a point where we're starting to see things level out, or would you say there's more turbulence ahead?
It's a great question, and I think that if things go as expected, we have reasons to be optimistic about the economy in 2026, even though most people don't possess that optimism. And that's what I mean by this data being backward looking. It's not necessarily predictive of the future. And so reasons for optimism in the new year, there are a number. For example, we've had the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates. That's cutting short-term interest rates. It hasn't shown up across the board, let's say, with respect to loan rates, but we will see some improvement there. The tax bill takes effect in 2026, and that is going to provide some meaningful income tax refunds for Americans, as well as lower effective tax rates, being able to keep more of your money. It's another question whether you love the tax bill, don't like it, whether you think it's detrimental because it's adding to debt and deficits. Those are separate questions. We're talking about the economic impacts. And finally, one other thing, and that is the economy is continuing and making good progress, I think, in the process of absorbing the impacts of the tariffs. And so, pardon me for the expression, but the pig is moving through the python slowly but surely. And I think as we get into the new year, we will put some of those one-time price adjustments behind us. And the hope is then that we have prices essentially level out at a more normal inflation rate, not the higher inflation rates that we've almost grown accustomed to, but actually haven't.
Yeah, and this report revealed, in October, 105,000 jobs were lost. Federal workers saw a decline by 162,000.
Yeah.
So if we see another government shutdown, which they said is a possibility in the new year, how could that impact the economy further? We've already taken a hit once.
Well, obviously, it depends, first of all, on how long that shutdown is. And it's truly pathetic that we have these shutdowns because elected officials don't put the needs of the American people before their own petty political party differences. But leaving that aside, that's the state of play. And so that would do further damage, further disruption, and even run the risk again of us not seeing economic data. But let's perhaps play Pollyanna here and say hope for the best. And if we can get through that period without another shutdown, then we'll be in the midst of, I think, some of the benefits of the tax cut, as well as the interest rate reductions and the absorption of the tariffs. And those are reasons to have perhaps a sense that maybe 2026 can be more positive than this year, where tariffs were the watchword to begin with, and the worsening of the job market part of it. We've gone from a 4.0 unemployment rate last January now to 4.6%.
Yeah, definitely want to be optimistic, and like you said, Pollyanna, one of my favorite movies, by the way. Thank you so much for joining us, Mark.
Thank you, Lindsay.